Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today as well. I see today there's a lot of people, so thank you so much for coming. And yes, I'm glad that like some people have been able to come live for the first time. So thank you so much. So today for today's talk, first of all, I hope all of you are doing well. And second of all, if you hear like rattling or like loud noises, it's just the fact there's like a huge storm right now. So there's like really strong winds and really heavy rain, almost like a typhoon. So if you hear noises, hopefully it's not too distracting, but it's just that like there's a huge storm. So, but thankfully everything's okay here. So for today's talk, I wanted to talk about two main things, which is the first topic is mostly revolving around like mental health, grief, and also how that relates to like kegare and like what is kegare and so on. And the second thing I wanted to talk about today was also like about like the impression that we give to others and what kind of what does it mean to give an impression to others, and how does that relate to like in terms of our like faith within like Shinto practices, or especially for me within Konko Faith. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. So let me see the comments here. Oh yes. Yeah, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat anytime. It might take me a second to like get to them because the comments don't load right away. But I'll definitely read them in the middle of talks. So please feel free. So basically, I guess what I kind of wanted to say was that like the last few days have like for me have been a little bit like, I don't want to say tough, but there's been a lot of reminders of like people I've lost in life, and especially like really close friends and stuff, and like and how that affects you. And I guess like the hard thing is that especially when you work as like a minister or like a priest, you have to like there's no time to like really like let yourself sit in like negative feelings, or kind of let like depressive thoughts like get to you, or like you have to keep like functioning, right? And I don't even think as a priest necessarily or a minister, but like for everybody, right? Like sometimes like we just have to keep going through life even though there's difficult things and painful things. And so it's kind of like it's really difficult to go through that when you're struggling, to just keep going and like go through life even though you're like struggling with a lot of difficult things. And like and like grief is a pretty big thing because like there's nothing you can really do about like losing someone close to you. So that's a huge problem, right? Like, and especially if it's someone close to you. And even people who like if you have work or school or like anything, right? Maybe they only give you a few days off to like grieve, I guess. But it's not enough time, of course. Because like grief never really leaves you, and even if you have like a whole year off, it's still not going to be like enough time to like really like feel better at all. You know what I mean? Like you can manage it, but it doesn't like take the grief away suddenly, or like make like you're suddenly feeling better just because time has passed. Like it just, as more time passes, it becomes a little bit more manageable, to like do your daily things through the grief, but it doesn't mean like it's completely like better now, right? So that's really difficult. And like whether it's like, and grief, so like grief is a really big thing to kind of like endure through life and like keep going even though you have to deal with the pain. But even just like little things too, I guess you could say, like quote unquote little things. And what I mean by that is like maybe nobody like passed away, but there's still like a lot of difficult things emotionally you have to go through, and whether that's like through like your social connections, whether with friends or family, or like your livelihood problems that are happening, like whether you can't find a job or your current job is like treating you badly, or like there can be so many different like emotional difficulties to go through. And um and again, similar to grief, even though that's like a really heavy and difficult thing to go through and it doesn't really get better, but in the similar sense, you can't like just like stop and like allow yourself to feel those feelings like fully. Like a lot of us have to just keep going through life and like push through to like function as a human, even though we're dealing with so many difficult emotions. And even though that like that is what we have to do to like, kind of like function and survive, it also like hurts us inside because we don't have the space or the time to like fully feel all of our difficult emotions or like talk to someone about it or even process it in our own mind. So we end up like holding a lot of things in and like trying to process it in little pieces and little bits and little times. But the funny thing is, if I could say it, it's like the more you hold it in, um, the more it grows. So like even if you take out pieces to process, it's still growing more because you haven't let all of it out, if that makes sense. And in like a spiritual sense or religious sense, these kind of like negative feelings and like difficult heavy emotions, um, like in the Japanese tradition in Shinto, we call that kegare, which is like basically just what I explained. It's like the negative feelings, heavy feelings that gather up inside of you. And it's not like they're evil or they're like morally wrong. It's just natural part of life to like have them. And even like recently, like I saw a post about like miasma, like explaining miasma in like ancient Greek tradition. And to me, honestly, I know like we shouldn't really compare like ancient religions as much because there's always like little nuances that are different. But to me, honestly, like miasma and kegare are like almost one and the same thing to me personally. I know others might not agree, but that's how I feel. And so like this kind of concept of like negative emotions and heaviness and like basically burdens you have to carry is kind of like a part, how it's understood like spiritually and religiously for me, but also like in my own life, like emotionally and mentally, like all of this kind of comes together. And I guess like I kind of wanted to share like how do you manage with it, or like how at least I manage with it, and maybe it can help you like find your own way to manage with it too. So like not only in the like mental side or like emotional side, but also like the spiritual side of it as well. So like of course like the spiritual side I think is like one of the more simple sides, and that like um to like purify yourself or like clear yourself of the heavy emotions. Basically what is good to do is like basically connect to kami-sama again. And like I know some traditions in Shinto, like some faiths and some shrines, they talk about like misogi, which is ritual purification with water. And this doesn't mean like the waterfall type, but it means also like, rinsing your mouth and washing your hands with cold water. And it can also be like washing your face, basically just like freshening yourself up. Like, when you're like, your head is fuzzy and you splash cold water on your face and you kind of feel more like alert. That's kind of the like original meaning. Or like when you feel really grimy and like gross, but you take a shower and you feel clean and fresh. It's the same kind of principle. It doesn't necessarily have to be like chanting the prayer and like there's a lot of like cold water. That's like a more powerful way, traditionally speaking. But misogi can be done with like just freshening yourself up as well. But ultimately, like it's not really the like water itself or like the action itself of misogi that's purifying you. What's really purifying you from deep down is like your reconnection to the divine and remembering your own divinity and connection to kami-sama. And how this generally is done is like in Shinto traditions. So there's misogi, but there's also like doing rituals. So like going to like a shrine or like here in the Konko Faith Hiromai, and either doing like a prayer ritual, like a gokito with like a purification, or like doing toritsugi mediation in Konko Faith. But the thing is basically like the core of both things are the same thing, is that to reconnect to kami-sama, like to feel close to kami-sama again, and to remember your own divinity. So that is like kind of how we help ourselves, like spiritually and ritually. And sometimes even if you do the ritual or the toritsugi, sometimes you still feel like you're not connected or really close to kami-sama. Like sometimes it can be too much that you're still like feeling like heavy. At least for me, like for me, honestly, like rituals are really like they make me feel better and they make me feel refreshed. But sometimes it's not enough. And then sometimes I'll do toritsugi, and it depends on the mediator. But sometimes like I'll feel so much better after. But then like some time will pass and like all the feelings will come back because they're too heavy, like especially for grief. So like what do I do in those situations? And for me, it's kind of like there's not really like one like miracle cure or like plan that you do to like fix everything. Like I don't think that exists. I think it just depends on what you're going through. And like it's not like okay, like do this like 10-step program and then everything's gonna feel better. Like it's not like that. But I guess for me it's kind of like it's like doing a lot of different things that help me kind of get through the heavy emotions. So like, a toritsugi will help, doing a ritual or attending like the monthly ceremony will help. But also so will like writing down my feelings or like making artwork or like listening to music, especially for me, is really helpful. Or like just like giving myself time. Like even if I don't like even if I'm really really busy, like I try to find time to like process my feelings. And usually I have to do that for myself in like solitude, because I don't know, I just like I need that. So that's what I like. For me, like being with other people doesn't really like help me as much. Like I know it helps other people, but for me, like solitude kind of helps me more. So it's like a collection of things that help me feel kind of more grounded and connected back to kami-sama, and like being able to like let out all the emotions really help. And like lately, like I've been kind of comparing like crying to like vomiting. And that sounds weird, but it's like, when you have a really bad stomach bug and your like stomach is like it's hurting so much and it's like stabbing pains and you feel nauseous and like everything is horrible. But when you barf, like it feels immediately like immediate relief, even though it's terrible to go through. So like, maybe that's kind of gross. I'm sorry, but like crying is kind of like the emotional equivalent of like that stomach flu situation, where like even though it's like uncomfortable, or like at least for me, like I kind of grew up like where like crying wasn't really like an option to express my emotions. So like when I finally do it, it's like embarrassing for me and like uncomfortable, and I try to hide it. But when I actually do it, it feels so much better. Like it feels like an immediate relief, like vomiting when you have the stomach flu. And and again, like it doesn't immediately make everything better. Like even if you like throw up when you have the stomach flu, you'll still be sick with it for like some days. But that like immediate relief is so much better than like trying to hold it in. And like like what happens to me like when I'm like sick and I'm like, I don't have to throw up, I don't have to throw up. Please, Kami-sama, don't like don't make me throw up. And then I like it just happens anyway. So it's kind of like the same thing where it's like you're holding it in, but then just letting out is really, really good. So I give myself like some space if I can, because sometimes I can't always cry, just to like let it out, like those feelings, just because it's like pure like mental and like emotional relief. So it's kind of like that also helps a lot when you're going through things. But I know like for me too, like the first like I would say like 2 or 3 years after my mom passed away, I couldn't cry. Like I couldn't feel like I was like numb, right? So like like um but that was kind of good too. Like even though like I didn't try to force it either. So like sometimes if you're going through something really hard, like crying will help, but you shouldn't force it either. because sometimes your body or like your mind also has to like have that period where like sometimes if something's too painful, like the numb feeling is also like a good thing. Like it's a good mechanism to protect your emotional state and like your mental state to like function in the world. So sometimes you feel like the numbness, but that doesn't mean you're broken. It just means like you're, at least in my opinion, it doesn't mean you're broken. It just means like you need that time, and like that time to like process it internally while you can't like let all the emotions come out. Anyway, it's really complicated. Like again, like I always see stuff online that's like, oh, you know, if you're going through something hard, like you should do these things that make you feel better. And I'm like, or like if you're going through like depression, like, you know, talk to a therapist or like take this medicine or do this and do that. It's like yes, those things can help, but I don't think there's any one real like specific answer or like thing you can do to like really make yourself immediately feel better. And it, because it all depends on like your personality, how you handle heavy emotions, what you went through in particular, because like not all pain is really equal, even though all pain is like all pain is like it's worthy of like care and consideration and like acknowledgement. But some things do hurt more than others. Like of course, like losing someone and they're passing away is really hard compared to like, I don't know, getting into an argument with your friend, right? So it's like they both really hurt and they're both like valid pain, but one can affect you deeper than the other. That's what I'm trying to say. So that also depends in what you're dealing with. And then like some like what is going to help you in that moment, because like sometimes like crying might help you, but then sometimes it might not, and sometimes you can't. But then sometimes like, you know, listening to music might help you, but then sometimes maybe it's not going to help you because the song reminds you of the pain. So it's like it really all depends. But what I'm trying to say here is that like just to think about it like that way, like whenever you're going through something hard and you have to like function through life, just like don't try to like immediately try to fix yourself, as in like I have to like do all these things to get better. It's more like kind of like being kind to yourself and being like, okay, I'm gonna need this and I'm gonna like process it like this. And you know, I'm gonna go through it in my own pace and my own way, and whatever is the best path for you. I think, in my opinion, that's what really helps someone. And especially for us who like practice like Shinto or you're part of the Konko Faith, doing Toritsugi mediation, or even if you're not practicing, like even if you don't identify as Konko Kyo in particular, you can still do Toritsugi mediation, and I extremely recommend it because it just I don't know, it's different. Like it helps you a lot to not only let everything out of your mind, but also like connect to Kami-sama. So it's like double like really helpful, in my opinion. And then of course, like if you're able to like attend a ritual, even if it's virtually, it helps a lot too. And that's why I like to do them online, because it's like, and like share the live streams of like not only the Konko Kyokai but like other jinja, because it can like really help you like feel better too, like just to attend a ritual like that and feel closer to Kami-sama. And even if it's not particularly Shinto, like any kind of like ritual or like I don't know, like devotional acts towards divinity that makes you feel more connected to the whole and more connected to nature, and kind of like it kind of like puts your pain into perspective as well. Kind of like, I'm going through this, but you know, we're like all people have like go through suffering and pain and difficulties. So it's not like I'm in particularly like targeted to suffer. Like everybody is going to go through it. So, you know, it helps ground you as well. I think, well, at least in my opinion, it helps ground me. So, you know, it's kind of like, it's complicated, right? There's no like one particular like answer or way. And like for me recently, like it was hard because like I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. So like for me it was hard because so I had a friend growing up from middle school to university, and this friend we were really really close. So you know, it was like we were close friends. And we were both into art, we were both into like anime, games, like everything. And we would like look at each other's live journal, like an online blog and stuff like that. And one of the things she was really into was like the card game Magic the Gathering, right? So I always thought that she got into it from like her boyfriend, but it turns out she didn't. She actually liked it way before, and I only found that out a few days ago because I was like looking back at like old live journal entries and like seeing everything, like everything we wrote together. And I saw like she actually was playing Magic from like way back with her cousins. And then I was like, oh my God, that's so like, I didn't realize it was like that important to her back then, because I only knew it like on the surface because we only started playing it together in university. So like from middle school to university, I didn't know she was playing it. So I didn't realize it was like that meaningful to her. But anyway, so we started playing university together. And unfortunately, when she passed away, I couldn't play it anymore. Like, because every time I would play it, I would think of her and I would like get really sad and like, all the grief would come up, right? So it was really hard. And I had to stop playing it. And, but, I always thought about it as like the time went on. And like, basically, it just reminded me of her. And it was the same thing for art and graphic design because like we were both going to school for art and graphic design. So like I couldn't draw for a long time either because it was like it reminded me of like school and like how she wanted to be a graphic designer. And then I would have kind of like a survivor's guilt, like why did she pass away and I didn't, and like like all this kind of like all those hard feelings, right? And so I couldn't really touch art or graphic design either for a while. But I could kind of go back into it slowly because, like, for me, I ended up drawing again for like spiritual reasons and like creative reasons. And I also had kind of a connection with art since I was a child. So it wasn't like, it was like connected to her, my friend, but it was also connected to like me since I was a child. So I could kind of like slowly like work past it. But as far as like magic went, Magic the Gathering, the card game, I couldn't because it was just like my only memory and my introduction to it was my friend. So it was really hard. And why am I going on this? So every Thursday, usually I go up to Tokyo and like play. So wait, okay, backtrack. Hold on a second. So I got into Magic again in like 2022, 2023, thanks to another friend who was a really close friend of mine. And he taught me, he reintroduced me to Magic, and we're having a lot of fun. And it was really like healing for me because it was kind of like a bridge between like the pain and like of like losing my friend and like remembering her fondly, like thanks to my other friend. So like it was kind of like a healing moment. So I started playing again thanks to my other friend, like since like 2022, but it was like on and off, and it was like, a little bit like difficult, and like it wasn't straightforward. But anyway, I started getting back into it, and thank you to my friend who helped me through that. And they know everything about what happened with my other friend, so it's all that whole situation. But so anyway, I started this year more to go more regularly up into Tokyo and play. But the thing was that like because I saw the old posts like the day or two before, and then I went up to go play, I was a little bit more like sensitive about it and like thinking of her more and more. And then like and then like it was horrible because like that day it wasn't horrible. Like people were nice, but like I guess because I was pretty sensitive, like like the kind of interactions that were happening, I was a little bit more sensitive to them. And honestly, I got kind of hurt a little bit, but I tried to keep it cool because I didn't want to make a scene and like cause a whole situation, and like it was weird. So I just like, pretended like I was fine and like laughing and funny, huh? And like everything was okay. So but actually deep down I was like really like going through it like with a lot of emotions. And so like the when I came back after the whole day, now I was like really thinking of my friend and like really remembering everything, and then like everything was going back to like the old days, and like basically what happened was that like the way I was playing, like the style I was playing, was I realized was still from that time in university and bringing it to the current scene. So I was kind of like outdated, basically, like my play style and my like concept of like building decks and everything. And that kind of like got to me because I realized like how much time has passed since my friend passed away and like all what have happened between that time and now. And I guess because like the way I was thinking of the game was like a time capsule, and like how that was evidently shown to me in that on that day connected to like the live journal thing. So like everything was happening all at once. And I was going through it because it was just like so much like pain, and then like it was like that, and then it was like compounded because my friend is like part of my memories of Toronto. And you know, like and then like because my grandmother passed away, my mom passed away, and they're part of my Toronto memories. It was like basically like all my old life in Toronto is like full of grief. So there's like memories of like grief in Toronto and like all the pain of the people I lost. And then like being reminded of that like all at once was like really like difficult. And then on top of that, um like I remembered because my friend who passed away, like what happened to her reminded me of what happened to my other friend who passed away in 2023, because both of them passed really young. So it was like then I was remembering my other friend who passed away. So now it's like the grief of like my childhood friend, my grandmother, my mom, and then my friend who passed away in 2023. Like all of that grief was just like all of a sudden now on me, and I couldn't like it wasn't conscious. It was just like one thing kept reminding me after another, and it was just like all of this at once. So so it was pretty tough because that was like Wednesday, Thursday, and now it's Saturday. So it's like it's like all of this like compiling on me. um and understandably, I guess I got like a little down, right? And I'm still a little bit down, but you have to function, right? You have to go through life. So and also I don't really like it's so busy lately, like I don't really have like the space to like to like dwell on things too much, or like unless they like weigh me really down and like it gets too much. So that's why I was thinking about like today, like maybe talk about like this kind of feeling and like these kind of pain and suffering that we have to go through. And it can happen out of nowhere, like literally just like it was just like on Monday I was fine, and then like Tuesday was fine, and then like Wednesday was fine, and then Thursday happened, and now all of a sudden it was like all of this pain just like fall on me, right? And it didn't even happen to me directly. It's just like memories and like grief of something that happened before. And so there's a part of me too that's like, I shouldn't be feeling sad. Like there's no reason for me to feel down, or like, you know, or even like the sense of like embarrassed to feel down, right? Sometimes that can happen too. I guess I don't know, maybe that's my upbringing, but like for me, kind of sometimes it's like embarrassing, like why am I feeling so sad? Like I have lots of blessings, so I shouldn't like let myself get down too much, right? But like I understand that like it's all about like 6 7. No, I'm joking. It's all about the balance, right? So like it's true that you can't forget your blessings and like the good things in your life. But then doing that doesn't negate the painful things and the suffering that we go through and the bad feelings. So it's like, it's like even though I had all these like emotions and like memories that made me feel down, remembering like the things to be grateful for, like my health, number one, because you can't buy that, and it's so precious, right? So like health is number one. Like I'm always going to be grateful for like relative health. Like maybe I'm not the most healthiest person in the room, but I'm healthy enough, right? Like I can manage through life. So I'm really thankful for that. And like, of course, like having like, the ability to do the work I need to do, the ability to help others, um, you know, all the material comforts are things to be extremely grateful for. Like, I don't want to take them for granted. So, like, remembering those things, like, helps to put the painful things in perspective. But it doesn't mean like you're not allowed to feel painful things either. But also, you can't let the painful things like overtake the good things or the things to be thankful for either. So again, it's like another really complicated thing. But I guess that's what I mean about the balance, right? Because even though I was feeling all these hard emotions and like difficulties, remembering the things to be grateful for and the things that are good in my life, kind of helps, like, keeps things like functional and like balanced, and like doesn't make me fall into like deeper despair. But it's still like hard. And I still have to put in the work to process all of those hard feelings and not like keep them inside or like linger on them. So like that's kind of what's been like, it's kind of like going through that. But it's like it's just like life is too much sometimes. Like you just kind of have to go through it all like that and just keep going. But I think that, like, as long as you kind of like give yourself like, or like allow yourself to move through it in your own way and like recognize it. I think like recognizing is the most important. Like recognizing there's like heavy feelings and like pain you're going through, and then allowing yourself like the space to like work on it, however that might be. Like work on it in the sense of like process these feelings. And again, it's not like you have to do like any particular like 10-step thing, or like because I'm sad I have to cry, or like because I'm sad I should like journal. Like there should be no should. you know like a lot of people think I should, but when it comes to like processing difficult emotions, I think whatever like pattern or like way you can do it that is like not harming other people, of course, like whether it's like journaling, just sleeping, crying it out, I don't know, listening to music, etc. Just allow yourself to do that in whatever pattern and time pace you need. And I think that can help you like finally process through all the bad things. And of course, again, like the spiritual side, clearing the kegare, the miasma, like through ritual. And I really recommend toritsugi as well. So that's kind of like what I wanted to say on this topic. I don't know if that made sense or like I'm just rambling, but I don't know. I think it's like important to kind of like, it's important to talk about because a lot of times like especially online, like nobody wants to show that like they're going through difficult times. And like I get it because you don't want to be like negative, really. Like I mean, like some people do, like on Twitter and like Blue Sky and stuff. Like that's the website where people vent, right? But like on Instagram or Facebook, you just like the positive things, right? So like I don't know, it's like, and even if you vent online, like you want to keep it private, you want to keep it secret, because not only because like sometimes it can be a little bit embarrassing or like vulnerable, but also because there's some people who are like really awful and they're like happy that you're suffering, like this, like what is it called, like schadenfreude, like they're happy that you're going through a bad thing. And it's like a little bit like it's a little bit like messed up like that. But I mean, like I don't know, like it's one thing to be like feeling not alone because you see someone else going through it, but it's another thing to be like happy they're suffering. But that's human nature, right? Like it's a part of humanity's psychology that happens. So but it adds to all the complicated things that are going on, right? So I understand like people don't always want to talk about it or share about it, and it is vulnerable, and it's like it's uncomfortable, and it's like, in an ideal world we're all like just happy all the time and like everything's good. But that's not reality. And yes, we have to function, and like we can't like dump on everybody all the time, like dump on strangers, really. Like it's like we have to be like, again, like there's like valid raw feelings we all feel, but then we kind of have to like rein it in and like keep the balance with it. So like balance it out with like our like things to be grateful for and happy for, and then balance it out with like how do we express it without hurting others, or like without like disrupting the flow of our lives or like society? Like how do we like manage all of these things at once? And like in an ideal world too, like maybe we had like in an ideal world we have the time and the space to like process everything like fully. But the reality is like we don't have the space to process it fully, so we have to manage somehow, right? And I guess that's kind of like part of maturing as well. Like you have to find a way to like go through the difficult emotions while like keeping the balance and like keeping yourself functional, and like thinking about the environment and the people around you as well. So it's always like really tough and difficult things. It's like, it's not, there's no easy answer. Like I'm not here to like give the answer because I don't think there is one, to be honest. So I just kind of wanted to like talk about it and like my experience personally. Maybe it'll change as I get older, but like this is the experience right now, April 4th, 2026. So that's kind of what I wanted to share and like share with you guys today. And if you have like other perspectives yourself, like I'd love to hear it too. But it's like it's just really like complicated like that. And like I don't know, there's something else I want to say, but I forgot. Oh yeah. So there's something else that's kind of crazy with like grief in particular, especially in like I guess like especially for me in like North America, is that like when someone close to you passes away, like a family member, and you're the person who has to deal with like all the like the legal stuff, like the arrangements, the funeral and everything. There's absolutely no time for you to like grieve or like or like sit in the sadness, because it's like you have to do everything like right away. So it's like, now you're like the person who's like really important to you, family member, they pass away, and now you have to like prepare the funeral, prepare the wake, send invitations. Like you have to get like if they have like life insurance, like you have to contact the life insurance people, you have to like contact the phone bill people, and you have to contact all these people. And it's like I remember like after my mom passed away, like me and my older sister, we were just like nonstop like having to like call people and like arrange things. And like neither of us had any time to really like process what we went through, or like what just happened. And like like in a way, like one side of me says like it was kind of good because it kept my mind off the painful feelings. But one side of me was like, this is kind of also messed up. Like how society is like just like, well, okay, we gotta get all this done now, and you gotta do it. So it's like, like I don't know how I really feel about it, honestly. But that was another thing that like made me realize like there's just like sometimes there's just like no stopping, and you just have to do it. And like and it's like it's like, is this okay? Like I don't know if this is good or bad. But it just kind of shocked me. And then what shocked me even more was like the level. I mean it didn't really shock me, but like I had an awareness of it like logically and like mentally, that like of course like the people around, like the external people, like not family people or not friends, they're just gonna be like, oh, okay, and then like that's it. So like especially when you call like the companies and stuff, like the insurance companies, the phone bill, the blah 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 blah, like they're not gonna like comprehend your pain or suffering. And like I knew that mentally, but like out of all the people we called, I think only like one person on the phone like said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Like even just that like one little sentence, there was only like one person out of like maybe 20 or 30 people we called. And like some people were like incredibly like extra detached. They were like extra like not like emotionally like understanding like what we were going through, because they would even like question like, like they would be very callous about it. And I'm like, again, like mentally I get it, right? Like I get like why they would be a little bit more like callous or like professional minded, I guess. I don't know if I would call it professional even, but like, business minded. But also like on an emotional level, I was a little bit like, is this really okay? Like I mean, for me, like, yeah, we have to function, right? We have to go through the motions. Like, we have to live in this system that was built and like established, etc. But if it was me on the other end of hearing someone say, you know, my mother passed away, I would at least say, like, I'm sorry for your loss. Like, I'm sorry you had to go through that. Let's get through this process and I'll try to help you as much as I can. Like, there's a little bit of empathy and a little bit of professional. But a lot of times I found like there's like people like kind of just like completely like detach. And I don't know, I thought about that too. Like, why does that happen? Is it again like like just because we're all kind of in like a system, or is it because like the detachment to like negativity or like negative emotions, or like I don't know. Maybe that's something to think about. That's something for me to think about over time and like pray on. But I noticed that too, like that, and that also adds to the pain a little bit because it feels like, again, like it kind of adds to the feeling like, oh, I'm overreacting, or like I don't have space, I don't have the right to be sad, or I don't have the like my feelings are not as valid as I think they are, etc. So it's like, I don't know, it's a little bit like complicated like that. And oh, sorry, I saw your comment just now. So Akahana says, when I was dealing with my mother's affairs after her death, I actually got so sick of hearing the I'm sorry for your loss from the various companies I had to contact. The scripted response was worse than a professional detachment would have been. Oh, I see. Yeah, when I say like offering condolences, I don't mean like the scripted, like, I'm so sorry for your loss. Anyway, like, I don't mean like that, like fake version. I definitely mean like a genuine, like sincere condolences. But yeah, like whether it's like they're detached or whether they're like completely insincere, like just saying it to say it, I honestly feel like that is even worse. I feel like that's even worse than not saying anything, because it's like almost like mocking in a way to me. To me, it would be mocking, like a mocking feeling, like, oh, like, oh, I'm so sorry. Anyway, like it doesn't matter, but lol, like your mom died. It's like, okay, it's like thanks, I guess. Like, I don't know, people can be really weird. Like in that sense too. Like again, like it's the lack of empathy that is strange. That to me, that like you can't even have like the most basic empathy for people. And I don't know if it's like they shut it down inside of themselves, or they're just like, because they're at work and they like detach from their own emotions. I don't really know, but I feel like that's kind of like a worrying trend in society where like there's no empathy for people who've gone through grief. Like again, like you can be functional and professional, but like that doesn't mean you have to give up your empathy. So I don't know. It's like it's just messed up. And also I am actually like sincerely sorry you have to go through that as well. Like just because like knowing what I went through when I lost my mom, and like, you know, she passed away due to cancer, so it wasn't like a sudden thing, it was like over time and there was a lot to go through. So, you know, like to everyone who's lost someone and to you who lost your mom, like I'm really really sorry that you had to go through that, because I don't like what I went through. I don't wish that on my worst enemy, like honestly. Like I know some people are like, oh, I wish the worst on my worst enemy, but like what I went through and like other things I went through, and not only the death of my mom, but like I literally I cannot wish that on anybody because it was just so painful. And yeah, so I like it's just too much. So, you know, I'm just sorry you had to go through that too. But yeah, it's just like I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand life sometimes. Like I don't understand people sometimes. Oh, Kaya says, thank you. I understand your process too. My mom went through cancer, not actually leading to her death, but still, the whole process is hard. Yeah, it's so, so hard. Like, it's just so much. And then, like, that's another, that's another topic. But, like, even the way, like, there's just so much around, like, there's just so much around that. Like, I can't even, I need to process my feelings before I talk about them. But I understand what you mean. Like, it's just so much. It's just too much. And I'm sorry I had to go through that too. But yeah, but So hold on. I just realized there's a whole lot of comments before too. So let me check them out here. Okay, so I read this. Okay, Tifa said from you. So my wife and I will be taking possession of an inherited home from her father and stepmother in about 18 months. Her father passed in the house after a battle with cancer. We plan on setting up a kamidana for, among possible others, Toyoke Omikami-sama, and probably since she's a patron of Amaterasu Omikami-sama, her as well. What would be appropriate as we move in and look at getting set up in regards to that? Her father was not religious at all, and we aren't terribly either, aside from our respect for and tentative steps into Shinto. So yeah, what do? Okay, so that's a good question. And yes, I'm sorry again for like for to your wife as well on the same topic. Like I'm sorry that she had to go through that. But to answer your question, so if you plan to set up a kamidana, since let me think about this. Um, so basically, like because her father passed in the house, most priests who are especially connected to Issei faith with Amaterasu Mikami-sama and Toyuko Okami-sama, they would recommend that you should do like a purification before setting up the kamidana because there might be kegare in the house or kegare from memories of what happened in the house to who moves to you guys who will move into the house. Well, actually, did you mention? I'm not. So I don't know if you mentioned that you move into the house, but I'm assuming you will move in and live in the house because you want to set up the kamidana. I hope that's right. I hope that's my understanding is correct. But if that's the case, so if you will live in the house and you'll have memories of what happened in the house and also other difficult memories, and that will invoke like heavy feelings like the kegare, and also from what happened in the house. A lot of priests, and especially in the Issei tradition, Issei faith, the good thing to do would be a purification ceremony, and you don't have to do like anything in particular. If you can get a priest out to your house, I'm not sure where you live. You don't have to say on live. Don't say in the chat because it's like public. But if you want to DM me later, like feel free. But it depends on where you live. If you can have a priest come out and do the ceremony, it'll be much easier and more like thorough. But if you don't have the option, all you really have to do is kind of like, so there's a few methods, but I'll just give you the most like simplest one, would be to kind of like have some salt as a symbol of purification and renewal and removal of bad things, like bad things as in like bad heavy energy. Just a little footnote on that. So like for salt, it's like a universal kind of thing. Like you'll often find it in other traditions, like salt is a purifying or like removal of bad energies. And I did some research on this, like why salt? And it's because in a lot of ancient cultures, salt was used to preserve food. It was preserving meat, especially, and other vegetables. So, I I remember reading like people really didn't understand like how like things like how the germs and the bacteria and all the details of that really worked. So it basically it was like emblematic and also like physically when something went rotten or bad, it was like emblematic of like the negative energy or like unpleasant energies. So because salt had the power to preserve foods and help people survive, the theory is that it was also come to seen as a purification agent spiritually. So like it would remove like any like bacteria or like viruses that would like come to you, or in other words, like negative feelings. So you can think of the salt as like that. Like if you spread some salt, and they usually say in the four corners, like basically your surroundings, if you just pinch a little bit, it's kind of like a spiritual symbolic way to kind of like freshen the house, like remove any like negative or bad or like heavy feelings. So that kind of like symbolic spiritual action can help a lot in the purification process. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. So yes, you'll be moving in. Yeah. So I recommend, taking a little bit of salt, spreading it like just a little dash. It doesn't have to be a lot, because the feeling basically is to feel like a fresh feeling, and that nothing really like heavy or negative will come in. So spread the salt, and then just clean up the whole house, like super deep clean it. And when you're cleaning the house, don't think of it like just physical cleaning, but think of it like refreshing your heart and soul as well. So like we did this in Gakuin Seminary School for Konko Faith as well. But like, for example, when we're like cleaning the table, right? When you're like scrubbing the table or like some other surface, imagine you're also like cleaning your heart and your soul. So not only the physical table is being cleaned, but your like heart and soul is being cleaned at the same time. And in a way, this is like trying to like clear all of the heavy emotions you're feeling. So as you're cleaning the house, even if it just needs a light dusting or a sweep, the same principle applies. Feel not only freshening up the physical house, but freshening up your heart and soul, to prepare to invite Kami-sama to the house. So, sprinkle the salt around, clean up the house physically, but also as you're cleaning, feel like you're clearing out your heart and soul and like all the heavy emotions. Kind of allow yourself to process the grief as you're cleaning up, especially for your wife. So this is also another good way. And then finally, I can write this down later if it helps too. But finally, also, when you're ready to put up the physical kamidana, you place it on the shelf or the spot you're planning to put it, and put before you put the ofuda, when you have like just the physical space to invite kami-sama there, you could chant the Oharai no kotoba prayer or the shorter Harai no kotoba. And this kind of like purifies the space and the air, and also again your heart, to invite kami-sama to not only your house but to your heart as well. And then once you do that, I would offer some like fresh evergreen branches. Usually this is sakaki in Japan, but you can offer like pine branches or like other evergreen tree. Evergreen is kind of representative of like eternal life and like freshness and like renewal. So it can help bring the more purified feeling into the house. And then once you have prepared everything, then you can start by placing the ofuda on the kamidana, and then, bow twice, clap twice, and then do the kamidana. There's actually a specific prayer for a new installation of ofuda, which I can send to you later. And then you can pray the kamidana haishi, and then the oharai no kotoba again to purify once more. And then after those prayers, you can bow once. And that's pretty much the like what you can do for at home, to purify the space and to kind of like have a new beginning, moving forward from the tragic situation. And that doesn't mean, again, like that doesn't mean your grief will disappear or like kegare won't accumulate ever again. But for a new beginning and for a new start, and to invite kami-sama into the home as like a form of renewal, this can help. And then, of course, like moving forward, just keeping the space clean. And again, like when you're cleaning, clear your heart and soul, chanting the Oharai no kotoba, and also, of course, like processing the kegare and the grief as you're going through the years and the seasons. It's always going to come around. Like it's never going to fully like just like one day like snap your finger and it's like, okay, I feel better now. Like that's not going to happen. But it's okay. Like you will be able to go through it, and like with what's the word, like a routine, like going through a routine of processing the feelings and like purification in your heart and soul and like constant renewal. It helps to keep the space pure and connect to kami-sama, and also helps you to process the heavy feelings as they come, rather than like it all like coming at once, or like you're carrying that heavy burden for a long time, and then it keeps accumulating. You want to keep like clearing it out. So actually, like, this is kind of adjacent, but when I talk about like kegare and stuff, and like the negative emotions that come around, I kind of compare it to like taking out the garbage. So like, we're always gonna have garbage accumulate every day, every week. Like, even just you have a snack and there's like a wrapper, now it's like, okay, it's garbage. Right? That's like normal. In an ideal world we wouldn't have any garbage, but realistically, again, we have garbage. So even if it's compost, you still have to throw it out in the compost bin to be renewed. Like, no matter the kind of trash it is, trash will always be generated by living. So the same way, kegare will always be generated by going through life, and especially with really heavy things, that's like, a lot of things to gather and clear, right? So the same way we like, take out the garbage regularly, whether it's like every week or every day, the same way we have to clear out the kegare however we can. And, just keep on top of it, just keep, clearing it out as best as we can. And again, like some things, like if I were to use the garbage or trash example, it might be like, you have like a big room to clean, like a storage room you have to really clean, but it's just too overwhelming and you cannot clean it like right now. And it's just, there's a lot of stuff you have to throw out and like organize and etc. I would consider that like grief, like there's a big storage room of like emotions and feelings and pain. You have to organize eventually, but it's just too much right now. So, you just have to do it a little bit at a time. And it's like, okay, today I'm going to take out like this box of stuff and I'm going to organize it. And I'm going to throw out all the stuff in this box. And then I'm going to, then that I did that today. And then tomorrow I might not do anything, but then next week I'll do another box. It's like that. So, some situations are like that, especially with grief. You have to kind of take it a little bit at a time and clear it out a bit at a time. Like, not clear it out, but organize it and like, clear out what has to be cleared out, keep what you want to keep. It's kind of like that. For me, like when I'm going through grief, right? Like, keep the good memories of them, but let go of the feelings that make me feel really down, because again, like it's like it will hinder the ability to function. And I also feel like our loved ones wouldn't want to see us in that state of like despair. So that also like helps me to kind of process the feelings, because I feel like, like they'd want to see me happy and like, okay, so I'm trying to get through it for their sake too. So it's kind of like that. But as far as moving into the house and doing the ritual to kamidana, as you're processing the grief, I think that like the beginning of that ritual is good, and then as you go forward, just like a little bit at a time. So yeah, I hope that could help. Thank you so much. But yes. Okay, so let's see if I missed. Tifa-san says YouTube chat has a word limit. Didn't know that. I guess unfortunately there's a word limit here, but it's okay if some parts. Like I learned this, so I learned to wait until the parts are all there. And hello everyone. But I hope you're okay, Avery-san. Like at the doctor. I know maybe you're not here now, but when you watch it later, I hope everything's okay. Avery-san, Lupin says sometimes you have to let it all out in regards to crying. Yes. And Avery-san says, reminds me of 2 years ago when I had the 24-hour bug. It was absolutely miserable. Hope I never get it again. Yeah, the 24-hour stomach flu is like, it's a situation. Last year, this time, after my birthday, I got norovirus. And I still remember it. And it was like the worst thing like ever. And then I think I had like an ear infection at the same time. I don't remember, but it was like horrible. So anyway, I'm glad I'm better. So I was like praying to Kami-sama like the whole time. I was like, Kami-sama, please, like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know, like, I shouldn't apologize, but like when you're in that moment, it's hard. Like stomach flus are like next level. Like they're crazy. I had to sleep with like a bucket beside my bed. It was a whole situation, but it passed, so that's good. Hopefully this year, knock on wood, I don't get norovirus again. Oh my gosh. But hi, Michael. Thank you for coming. And Mike says those feelings are very understandable. Yes, thank you. And yes, thank you, Rai-san, for listening as well. Thank you. But yeah, so yeah, so I guess if there's no other like just kind of moving forward from this topic, I also wanted to talk about another thing related to this topic, and good timing because it's at the 1 hour mark. So another thing I kind of wanted to talk about. Oh no, thank you so much too. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yes. So another thing on today's live stream, it's funny because like I'm like sometimes I forget I'm on live. I feel like I'm just like talking to you guys, but then I'm like, oh no, I'm on like live, so I have to like I have to like limited live stream, like have to be like YouTube presenter, like but I'm really bad at that. So like I'm bad at like being a YouTuber, so it's like I like try to do that. So anyways, but then the other topic I wanted to chat about today is like impressions we give of other people. So it kind of related to like what happened on Thursday, like at the store, at the magic store. And that's like, so like basically like I when I was there, like before the whole situation where I got like reminded of grief and like, it kind of hit me all at once. Like in the first few hours there, I was thinking of like, I was a little bit self-conscious because well, like on live stream I'm wearing like all black and like normal clothes because I'm in my like shrine clothes, right? So usually I wear a howdy too sometimes, but this is like work clothes, and I look like a normal person. No, I'm joking. But oh, sorry. Okay, wait. I'll pause and I'll read Redeem Sen's comment. Hold on. So Redeem Sen says, Olivia Sensei, today on Discord there was a talk about Kyoso-sama's depiction. I see many kyokai having it in high quality and even in color. So I wonder if Yokosuka kyokai have one. Oh, that's a good question, but unfortunately we don't have one in color. I don't actually know where the other kyokai get it, but I think I have this picture on like a flyer somewhere from Amagasaki Kyokai. So if I can find it and scan it, it could probably be a high res picture you could print out. But I don't actually know where they find the picture because I didn't see it at Gohonbu anywhere. Like, I'm always like when I go to Konko Town and like the head shrine, I'm always like, I'm like, what like what stuff can I get for bringing back? Because there's always like exclusive stuff you can get there and like really unique Konko items in Gohonbu. So I'm always looking. But for the Kyoso-sama, like for Konko Daijin-sama's depiction, like in the artwork, I've never seen it there like available. So I don't know how they have it. I'm gonna assume that Airaku Kyokai has like a high res picture somewhere, and they like send it to the other Airaku Kyokai. And I'm gonna assume that maybe like through like the Kyokai connections, they just like, oh, here's the picture, you can use it. But I don't actually know. Sorry, we don't have one here at Yokosuka Kyokai. Like it's so like on that topic, some Kyokai have like an altar, like an actual altar to Ikigami Konko Daijin-sama, like basically where our Gakuden is, like the music room. They will put like an altar right here, like not adjacent, like across from the Okekai to like symbolize that Ikigami Konko Daijin-sama. It's Toritsugi mediation through Ikigami Konko Daijin-sama. So they put an altar there, or they put his picture, but there's no like photos of him. So they put the artwork, but it's not like an artwork to worship or like a scroll to worship. It's just kind of like emblematic of like his presence at the Okekai. So similar, like you see here, there's like the third Konko-sama and the fourth Konko-sama portraits here. And the reason they're here is to like is like emblematic of like the toritsugi of the Konko line is like passed down. And when you receive toritsugi at the Okekai here, we are passing down this lineage from Konko Daijin sama through the Konko sama, like through the Konko family from Higami Konko Daijin sama. So it's not like, like just like, like random, I don't know, random toritsugi, but like not lineage toritsugi, like it's from a lineage, right? So that's kind of the emblematic symbolism here. So whether it's like a third Konko sama or first Konko sama or the painting of Konko Daijin sama himself, that's kind of what it's representing. But it's not for like a scroll to worship like you might see sometimes in Shinto practices. Because Konko Daijin sama said, like, I don't want my picture taken or like portraits necessarily, because I just want people to feel the spirit of Konko Daijin sama and not the human person necessarily. Like, it's not about worshiping the human person necessarily, but like the spirit of Ikigami Konko Daijin, which is Toritsugi mediation, if that makes sense. So, when they have it there, it's like good as like a reminder, but it's not like, like necessary. So that's why not all kyokai have them. But it's nice, like it's nice to have the picture of Konko Daiji sama. So I'll definitely try to find that flyer somewhere. I think I know where it is. I think it's in like one of the folders I have. And I just have to like take it out and like scan it. But I'll look for it at some point. But maybe the kyokai, if you contact them, like they might have it's ready to go. Like the PDF is already there, so it might be good to ask them too. Vidya-san says, I see so many goods in kyokais, and then asks how I can have the one. And priest always like, oh, that's just super old. I don't know. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's so true. Like there's so much stuff that like I don't know. It's just been here the whole time. And if you're lucky, if you're there in person, sometimes they'll say you can have it if you want. It's like, oh, thank you. So that's what happened with a lot of books I got when I went to like San Francisco Kyokai and what's the name? Gardena Kyokai. I found so many books in their storage. I was like, oh my god, I didn't see those in years. You can have them. I'm like, oh, thank you. So it was nice. But unfortunately, I searched Yokosuka Kyokai and we don't have too many treasures here, like too many lost treasures. I think it's because like in Yokosuka Kyokai, it wasn't always the Kimoto family. It was like the Tagawa family, and then like there was other families that were here. So I think maybe like some stuff got like not like inherited elsewhere or like given elsewhere. So there's like not too much here, unfortunately. But they might be in like other kyokai, like maybe like at Shiba Kyokai or Yokohama. So I don't know. Unfortunately, here we don't have too much. We do have a lot of treasures, but we use them in like ceremonies. Even for example, this like Tenchika Kitsuke, sorry, up here, the black and white one. We found this in storage a few years ago, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like the coolest thing ever. Like I love how it's like the dark background and the glowing. It's hard to tell. It's like it's white, but it's like glowing. It's like aluminum-ish, like holographic. It's really cool. So I was like, you gotta put it up. And I really love this Tenchika Kitsuke. But yeah, well, if we find something, we try to use it. Try to reuse it again in the kyokai or the rituals. So, but yeah. Oh, Vinny-san's, but I remember Yokosuka Kyokai still has as many books as I remember. Oh, yes, we do. So, like, we have the whole, like, library shelf here. So, there's a lot of books. But I think you have them all from, like, the auctions and stuff. But I don't know. I'll take a picture and, like, if you need anything, I can send them. So, yeah, please feel free. But unfortunately, like, compared to, like, Portland Kyokai or San Francisco Kyokai, like, the collection is not, like, that big compared to them. There's, like, a treasure trove. And other kyokai, they have, like, whole huge rooms full of stuff. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. I need to go treasure hunting. But, yeah. Yeah, so, sorry. Okay, going back to the topic. But, so basically, like, when I was in the card shop, like, I was thinking about, like, my impression. So, usually I wear, like, really, like, girly, frilly dresses. Like, I really like Lolita fashion. But I don't, like, go full out. I just kind of wear, like, classic Lolita, which is, like, more Victorian-y era stuff. But like there'll be like a lace collar here, and like maybe the dress is like patterned, and there's like frills at the bottom of the skirt or something like that. And like I have like a bag with like a lot of charms and like stuff, and like I don't know, I just like it, right? It's just my style. But I keep it balanced, right? Like I keep my work clothes, and then my going out clothes, Um, but as you can imagine, like in a card shop, like this kind of like doesn't fit in because in the card shop, like everyone's very casual, right? Like everyone's wearing like hoodies or like t-shirts. Like the guy I was seeing at the shop was like, he had like a super cool like Jujutsu Kaisen shirt from Uniqlo, and I was like, that's cool. But for me, like I feel really uncomfortable in like t-shirts and hoodies and stuff. Like I have a hoodie and like other stuff, but for me that's like at home clothes, like relaxing clothes. It's not like going out clothes, right? So it's kind of like I end up standing out, like in the environment there. And it can be kind of awkward sometimes because like maybe people think like I want attention, but I don't want attention. I just like to dress like that. So it's like very complicated, right? But when I was thinking about that, I thought about like, what kind of like first impression do you give to other people, or like the impression you give to others? So and why was this relevant, and like why is it relevant to like Shinto faith and stuff? Um but like, so for example, when I was in the shop, like you can imagine all the people dressing comfortable, casual. And here I come in with like my big dress and my like keychains and like my anime stuff, whatever. And then I sit down and I take out my deck boxes and my like dice, and all of these are also like custom and like cutesy, and I put like stickers on them, and like it's like a whole like situation happening. So like, and I like usually I don't care, like usually I don't notice, but that day I noticed, right? So I noticed the contrast more. I don't know why that day, but I guess I noticed it. And I started to think like like the impression I was giving to everyone like socially in the space. And I started to get self-conscious, and I hadn't felt self-conscious in a long time. Like I'm generally like socially anxious, but I'm not really self-conscious in the sense that I feel anxiety over like what people like see me as. Because a long time ago I felt that how I wanted to express myself in a space where it was appropriate was important to me more than how people thought of me, like how they thought of my image or whatever. Because like for me, like life is too short, so I really wanted to express myself as I was able to in the spaces I could, rather than always confining myself to like trends or like how I should look or like et cetera, et cetera. And like for the shrine, for the kyokai, like I just more toned down because I feel comfortable like that in the kyokai, because I feel like it's like more like modest and more like calm, right? Like it's a calm outfit, it's neutral. It doesn't distract from like kami-sama or when people are praying. Like I'm kind of like in the shadows, I like that. So I think that's good, and it's like appropriate too, right? Like it's considering of others, but also I like it. And I also like, I don't like wear like something I don't like, like even this, I'm wearing like a black dress and it has like a little bit of frills, but not like too crazy. So I'm comfortable with it, right? But like, yeah, so I haven't felt that feeling in such a long time, like feeling self-conscious of like what other people would perceive me as. But I guess that day I started to feel it. And like, maybe, I don't know, but I did. And maybe it was the way like I was being talked to, or the way like people were treating me. But basically, like it was kind of like I guess like I was being treated as like an outsider, and I think that's because I looked like an outsider. Like I didn't fit in with everybody in the shop, right? So I was being treated as like an outsider, like someone who wouldn't understand, or someone who wouldn't like know like the ins and outs of the social circle. And I hadn't, like, again, like it was such an unfamiliar feeling that I hadn't felt in such a long time. And another thing that kind of like like distance me between the group and myself is that like I'm someone, and this kind of distances me in like a lot of spaces, but I don't care like as much. I don't care as much. But something that really distanced me from others is that like I enjoy being like a cheerful person. So what that means is like it doesn't mean I'm like, oh, happy go lucky, let's go. Like I don't mean like that, but I mean like I like to like I don't know, I like to be like more positive, I guess. Like I don't know how to explain it. But like I don't like to be sarcastic. I get like I don't like to be a sarcastic person or like a negative person. Like maybe I'm not super positive, but like I like to make people happy and I like to make the environment kind of chill and peaceful. And I like to have like a nice time. Like I like to be sincere with other people. So like I don't like sarcasm or like being fake. Like I just like want to connect to people like realistically, and I don't like to like put others down for no reason or like be edgy. You know, like I know some people that comes like as out of habit because of the way society is kind of structured, and like adulthood is seen as something more like, you know, subtle or like I don't know how to explain it. But anyway, like I'm just that kind of person, right? Like or I want to be that kind of person, so I try to emulate that in my social interactions. So like even if I'm feeling a little bit like tired or like down, I don't I personally don't want to put that on others. I want to kind of like others as in like strange, like, you know, not strangers but like friends or acquaintances. With people I'm really close to, I don't like I just like maybe it's bad, but I just end up feeling how I feel. Like I don't end up like trying to kind of like be the person I want to be in that moment, because I just end up feeling whatever I'm feeling. But when I'm in like a grander social interaction, whether it's like an event or like an outing or public, I try to be the person I want to be. And I do that by like, I try to emulate what I want to be, right? So it's like that. Even if it's not like being fake, but it's just like trying to be like, just trying to be the thing you want to show. Like you want to show who you want to be to others, right? If that makes sense. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope it does. So yeah, so I just try to be like, you know, that way. But in the card shop, like a lot of people are, some people are really sincere and they're really cheerful, and I love them for that. Like they're so nice and they're like, you know, they're friendly and they're not like mean or like randomly negative. Like I really appreciate people like that in the shop. So not everyone is like negative, but some people are like really like aggressive and like sarcastic and like negative. So, and then because they're kind of that like personality type, or at least like expressing themselves that way in that moment, if they see you not acting the same way as them, they see you as like lesser than them, because like they feel that the way they're acting is more correct or more like mature or more like right than the way you're acting, which is opposite. So this is kind of convoluted, but for example, I was playing a game with three people. Oh no, four people. Sorry, four people. And like, and this wasn't like this Thursday. This was like another day. So like, it was like in my history of playing games, but it just related to the topic. So there was this one guy, and he was like, every time he got a bad hand, he was like, oh my god, and he was like slamming the table, and he was like, I can't believe this, and he was like, and like doing all these like things and like making these big reactions. And it's like I understand feeling disappointed, but it was like too much. Like it was like too much to the point of uncomfortable, because like we're all strangers and we don't know this person. So like the way they were acting was like getting a little bit like weird and uncomfortable, because it was kind of scary, because we didn't know like if he would react more aggressively or violently from like a card game. So it was like really uncomfortable. And you know, one game he lost, and when he lost, he was like, he took his deck and he was like slamming on the table. He was like, dun dun dun, and he was like slamming it and like sighing all over the place. And he was like kind of an older man, and he was like, he had this kind of like rough appearance, and his backpack had a whole bunch of like army stickers and patches, and I was like, okay, like it's okay. Like for me, I wasn't intimidated. It was just like, this is like a little bit weird right now. Like it wasn't scary or intimidating to me, but it was just like a little bit like, I don't know how to react right now, you know? So it was a little bit too much. but but it was like, it was interesting to me because when he saw like me, this like person in like a frilly dress and like cutesy little dice and like he like giggling over a game because I would make bad plays, and I would like laugh at myself because like Shogunai, right? Like I can't be helped. Like I drew a bad card. It is what it is. Like a card game problem is nowhere near a real problem that I've been through or a real suffering that I've been through. So I have to laugh at it, right? Because like it's not a big problem to me. But maybe he thought that like my reaction comparing to his was like, maybe he took it like I was mocking him, because like if he was like this big like aggressive manly man and he was like taking the card game super seriously, and then me who was like kind of like an opposite of him, I don't know, I wouldn't say opposite, but appearance wise, personality wise perhaps, and I was not taking the game as seriously, he would got like really offended and like really angry, and he started to like be really like like aggro to me, like really mean to me, like saying little quips, like little comments, like, and like using his native language to like make comments, but I understood a little bit, so I knew, and it was just like a whole situation. And I guess like, and the craziest thing is that like for me personally, I feel like I could understand him because I can understand like where his like where he's coming from in terms of like getting frustrated, and I could understand like maybe his background, like maybe I don't know, like I kind of understood his personality type because I had friends like him and I kind of went through like phases like that. So I kind of knew where he was coming from to a point. Like I don't know him as a person, but like just from the whole atmosphere, like I was like understanding him to a point. I wasn't like separating myself from him. Like I kind of like I could understand, like I could relate to his situation from who I was kind of like in the past more. Because in the past I was a little bit more like aggressive and like negative and like let little things get to me. Even though it could have been just a card game, I could have had been going through other stuff, and then the card game frustrated me on top of it. So I would overreact. Right. So I kind of knew like where he was in his life based on like what I had been going through. And that's not to say I judge him, but it made me sad because I feel like I could connect to him as a friend. But because of the way I looked and because of the way I was reacting, I don't think he could understand me that I could ever understand him. Does that make sense? So like I could understand where he was coming from and like his reactions based on like who I was before, and like seeing the same patterns in him as I would have seen in myself in the past. But I don't think he would ever like just from the way I looked and I acted, I don't think he would ever realize that I could do that or I could understand him. And then that's what got me thinking about like impressions, right? Because there is no way like you can imagine like, well, generally speaking, most people wouldn't imagine like someone who looks like feminine and girly and like laughing a lot and like hee hee ha and like it's so fun, lol games. Like I think it would be hard to imagine that someone like that, generally speaking, would understand like what it means to live through like a life where you have to like hold in your emotions and like you have to force yourself to be strong and you have to carry a lot of responsibility and difficulties and you have to kind of like go through life. And maybe I don't know if he actually was in like military because of the patches, or like that was just his hobby. But either way, he was pretty much like a military aligned person. And for me, like I have experience with that side as well, even though I don't look like I do at all. But I kind of have experience and connections with people who are military minded. So like I feel like I could connect to him, but I knew that he would never realize that I could because of how I looked. And that's okay. Like that's okay, because how else are you supposed to think, right? But it got me thinking of this thing I always have a conflict about, is that like sometimes when like when you've gone through so much and you kind of gain so many facets of yourself, like facets as in like so many different sides of your personality, your experience, your self-expression, and so on, it's really hard to kind of like balance all of those facets, all of those sides of yourself in a way that makes other people able to understand all of you as a whole, especially on a first impression basis, on like a stranger basis, right? Because maybe if we had met in different circumstances, maybe we could be friends, and maybe he would understand me even though I dress super girly and like pink and whatever. But because we were strangers and because it was the first impression, I don't think he could understand. I don't think he did, because he was like getting frustrated at me, and like I could tell like the vibes, like he was kind of like looking down on me a bit, and that's okay. Like I understand it completely. Even though it made me a little bit sad, but it didn't make me sad because he misunderstood me. It made me sad because I felt there was another time and place where we could have been friends, right? We could have understood each other. So it kind of got me thinking, like, how do we like, this is a conflict I've had for like many years, is like, how do you express yourself in a way that people can like understand you and like balance who you want to be as a person? Does that make sense? So like, of course, I think the answer in the end is like, just be yourself, like just be how you want to be. And if people don't understand or want to understand, then it is what it is. It's show and I. But also like, I also think to myself, I reflect a lot, and I think like, well, is there something I could have done or been like in order to show that I could understand not only him but the other people in the card shop? Because maybe that day I was super dressed up and I was really cheerful, but at home I'm like, with my hoodie up, and I'm like on the computer, and I'm like, like more like more casual, more like muted personality, right? Because I'm alone and I don't have to like, I don't have to put like effort into how like I exist. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So, and on that note, I could understand like some of the people in the store. Not everyone, again, like everyone was really different. There's cheerful people like me, and there was sincere people like me too. And those people are easier to connect to because we're kind of on the same page. But for people kind of like in a different headspace or in a different point in their lives, it's hard to connect to them, right? Even though you could. So, I remember I had this kind of like crisis a few years ago. I mean, like 10 years ago now. I had this crisis like 10 years ago about like when I was becoming an adult more, like when I was like, I think it was before I became a minister, like 19, 20. And I had always kind of had like this internal personality, like even since I was a child, that I was like very like just like straight personality, just like, you know what I mean, like like very like how to explain this, like very dry person, like I was always a very dry, emotionally dry person, like very straight. Like I wouldn't try to like, I wouldn't really care about like how I would make someone else feel, and I wouldn't care how I was like, if I made the room uncomfortable. I just kind of just like existed however I wanted to exist, and I didn't consider about other people like since I was a kid, and that's kind of bad, and I didn't like that, and I ended up hurting people. So I didn't like how I was when I was younger, so I changed myself, right? I wanted to grow myself, not change myself, but grow, evolve myself to be someone that to be more like the people that I admired, who had like more control of their emotions, who were more eloquent with their words, who are more cheerful and like peaceful people. I want to be more like people like that. So I want to grow myself and I want to evolve myself to be like that. Away from like the more like dead-eyed, like emotionally like stunted person. So yeah, that's kind of my story. But I know it's not for everyone, but that was it for me. So when I was like kind of like growing up in that age, I had like a crossroads. I was in between like being a really like cheerful person on the outside and like being more sincere and like cheerful and like nice. And but then I was kind of like also a people pleaser. I don't know. It was a mess. It was a huge mess. But then I was also on the crossroads between reverting back to like the emotionally dry person, the more like serious person, the more like I don't know how to explain it. But that personality type is considered more like wise in adult society. So like someone who's more like pessimistic or like more on the negative side, more like sarcastic, more like more like cynical. Cynical is the word I'm looking for. Like someone who's more cynical, more pessimistic, a little bit more like edgy. I find like people tend to, weirdly enough, like respect them more. Like people tend to like think that someone like that, they can't be manipulated. They are so serious. They are so wise. Like they know so much. They see life for what it is. Like life is suffering, so they see it for what it is. They're not like, they don't wear rose tinted glasses where they think the world is rainbows and cupcakes or whatever. Like that's the kind of sentiment you hear sometimes, where it's like people who are more like cynical are wiser because they see the world as it is. It's full of suffering and pain, and not everything is perfect. There's no Santa Claus. There's no Easter Bunny. There's no Queen of England. No, that's a reference from a movie. But like, you know what I mean? Like people tend to think someone like that is more like cool or like